logic, the study of logic, might sound really intimidating. It might sound like this like lofty field, this philosophical field, which of course it is. Logic is very deep and very profound, but we all are logical people. We probably wouldn't be alive if God didn't make us with a basic understanding of logic.
How should you respond when you are told that Jesus followers must leave their brains at the door of the church? Is it true that your faith must be blind in order for you to be faithful? Or is it possible to have an intellectually informed faith? When you're discussing your faith with non believers, can you tell when they've made an illegitimate claim against Christianity? And do you find yourself able to respond to it? Today's guest is one of WIA's very own team members who will be teaching you about logic and its role in your faith development. Voices of WIA is just one of the ways that Women in Apologetics strives to educate, equip, and encourage women in Christian apologetics. So if you love Voices of WIA, then I invite you to join our free email community where you'll receive apologetics resources every week and enjoy email community-only benefits like exclusive digital guides and a discount to our annual conference. You can sign up today by visiting womeninapologetics.com/email-community. All right, so our guest today is Jade, and she's had a passion for Christian apologetics since she was a teenager. And she began to learn that there are good, rational, and persuasive arguments for Christianity. So she obtained a BA in history from Southeastern Louisiana University and channeled her love for defending the faith into completing a master's degree in Christian apologetics from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. In 2017, Jade co-founded Women in Apologetics with Rachel Shockey and with a desire to develop an organization that would educate, equip, and encourage women in Christian apologetics. And here we are. So since 2019, she served as girls minister at the First Baptist Church of Covington, Louisiana. She enjoys speaking on a variety of topics within the field of apologetics and at conferences and student events throughout the year. Jade, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so glad that you are here. You have such a rich history with WIA. It's just a delight to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you, Lori. Thank you so much for having me. I love to talk, and I love to talk apologetics, so I am delighted to be here.
Excellent. It's going to work out really well. I have a really good feeling about this show then.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can you first tell us where you were in your own walk with God when you learned about the necessity of defending your faith? How did that happen? And what exactly did that look like for you?
Yeah, so my parents, who are both Christians, got really serious about evangelism and sharing their faith when I was a teenager in high school. And so I began to watch them learn and study and try to figure out, okay, when someone asks us this about Christianity, how do we respond? Or if we get this argument, what do we do? And so it was really cool to watch my parents become these amazing lay evangelists. Like neither of them have ever been on a church staff, but they just take the Great Commission really seriously. And so this was before I even knew apologetics was a word, a term, a field of study. And so I would just absorb what they were learning. And of course, they would teach us, my brother and I, what they were learning. And it gave me so much confidence in my faith. Like I knew Christianity was true because I had encountered Jesus. I knew the Holy Spirit dwelt within me because I was saved, but being able to show other people who hadn't had that experience that Christianity is evidential and rational and grounded in history was so empowering to me and exciting. And it really removed a lot of fear from sharing my faith with people. Because I think if we're all honest, and even to this day, like we always think, I'm going to get asked something I don't know the answer to, or there's going to be this argument that I don't know how to respond to. And apologetics maybe won't give you every single answer to every single nuanced question in the world, but you will learn that once you start sharing your faith, talking with non-believers, the same questions, the same arguments come up over and over and over. And if you're prepared for just a handful of questions, it will make you so confident, so less fearful about sharing your faith. And so it wouldn't be years until I would even consider studying apologetics formally at seminary. But I loved it from a young age and saw what it did for me and my family and our confidence in our faith. And I'm a talker and I love to teach. And so it really just the Lord put me on this path, and it's been so amazing to be a part of WIA and the apologetics community.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's such a cool story. I love how you just sort of were kind of drifting along with your parents and they sort of pulled you in that direction and it was just natural to you.
Yeah,
I'm guessing it was more or less natural to you to get to the spot where we're like, hey, I need to learn how to do this too.
definitely.
I think I was trying to take notes as you were talking. One thing that I want to make sure our audience puts together is that what caused them to study apologetics? Did you mention that?
So they just, well, I can remember my dad saying, "There's got to be a better way than telling people to ask Jesus into their heart." He really,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he said, "There's got to be a better way to do this than sharing your faith and feeling like you don't know what to say. It's awkward. It's
Right.
you don't know what
Or
to do."
using one of those little scripts. Did
Right,
they
right.
have you seen you know what I'm talking about,
No,
like the 4
absolutely,
questions or
absolutely.
something like that? Yeah. So
And
I loved that you said that, that there was just this natural once your parents first, and then once you started learning it, there was this natural desire to share your faith because there's something that happens. I'm gonna I wanna know if you would agree with me. There's something that happens when you start realizing that all these things you're being taught aren't just nice stories from the pulpit, that they're true, that they are real, and they have real life implications and claims on your lives. And suddenly there's something about knowing that, just knowing that and being able to sort of comprehend that, that
mhm,
suddenly gives you not only the boldness and the courage to share your faith, but this desire.
yes.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think we live in this culture that we're either afraid of arguments or we get so
Sure.
tired of arguments
Yeah.
that we feel already like burn out before we even start. But you can discuss your faith in a gentle and non-confrontational way and
Yes.
simply explain like this is why I believe what I believe. It's not just that it works for me or uh,
Yes.
that like it gives me comfort, which of course it does, but that's not the primary reason that I'm a Christian.
Right.
I think it's true. I think it's really true. And like
Right.
that reality in the universe is structured how God made it, and salvation is through Jesus. I don't think that is a subjective truth, and it's objective. And being able to demonstrate that and
Yes.
not use it as a weapon. I'm sure we both
Sure.
see people use apologetics as a weapon to belittle people, to make them
Right.
look stupid. We're trying to win souls to Jesus, not just trying to win people's like win arguments or make people look stupid for having a bad argument. But apologetics is just so empowering, and it really does give you confidence in what you believe and how to share that well.
Yeah, in fact, I tend to find the opposite is true. I'm not going to say I've never been in a conversation that has sort of devolved into an argument. I wouldn't say that, but I will say that by and large, most of the time that Christians get into defensive mode is primarily because they don't know exactly the answers that they're
Mm,
looking for, and they're trying to be convincing. And when you're trying to convince somebody, but you don't really know how, you just
that's
start talking louder.
that's true.
What
That's
I
true.
see.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
start kind of pushing your position because you really don't know how to defend it well. But when you do know how to defend it well, it's a lot easier to kind of be calm and
Yes.
conversational because you have facts on your side. You have your framework you're working from rather
Mhm.
than just kind of trying to kind of force a yes or a no or a cooperation or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I kind of see that too. Okay, so one of the things that I want to make sure we talk about, just because you and I had mentioned it back and forth before the show, was that apologetics fits very neatly within the concept of being made in God's image. There's a lot there about how we should live, the drives and the desires of the human heart, the drive for meaning in an otherwise meaningless world, that all pretty much is traced back to being made in God's image. And so apologetics can really help us with that particular concept. Why do you think that is, and what does it mean for us?
Absolutely. Well, Genesis, the first book of the Bible, tells us that both men and women were created in the image of God, or imago Dei, if you want to sound fancy. And so the idea of being made in the image of God is that we share characteristics with Him, a lot of different characteristics. And one of these is that we have a mind, not just a brain. We have a brain that operates our body, but we have a mind that thinks, that reasons, that judges, makes assessments, analyzes, and we have a mind that can understand the world around us. In fact, God created the universe in a rational way, and that we can understand it, we can investigate it, and be pretty sure that our senses are telling us the truth about what we see and observe in the universe. And so God gave us minds to reason and to be rational. And none of us expect to wake up tomorrow and none of us expect that the laws of gravity are going to be different tomorrow than they are today. Same with like the laws of logic, right? We don't expect tomorrow, if you have two ideas that contradict each other, we know that both of them can't be true if a contradiction exists. So there are things in the universe, these natural laws, these logical laws, that dictate how things go. And God made us to be able to recognize that and understand it, and to worship him with our minds. We're supposed to love him with our minds. And in fact, Isaiah 118 says, God is talking to Judah, to the Hebrews. He says, come, let us reason together. And so God doesn't expect us to leave our brains at the door. He wants us to use our brains. And I love a quote from C.S. Lewis. As apologists, we all have a million quotes that we love by C.S. Lewis, but I love this one. He says, God has room for people with very little sense, but he wants you to use all the sense that you have. And I firmly believe that. Like, even if you have an ounce of sense, you need to use it. But hopefully you can use all the sense, or that you're willing to use all the sense that you have in order to worship God and to use your mind to serve him and to honor him through sharing the gospel, through talking with people, through equipping other Christians with the means to share their faith well and defend their faith well. And so, yeah, being made in the image of God means we are rational beings just like he is. And it's a really beautiful and empowering thing. We don't see that in other creatures, right? We don't see like a pack of wolves holding like a tribunal or like a justice system for each other. No,
Yeah,
like they're not
right.
moral beings. We're moral beings. We're rational beings. And that's very unique to humanity, which is really cool.
Well, and I think it's very encouraging because I don't know how many times, I know you've heard it too. People have said, if you have to be a Christian, you have to shut your mind. You have to just
Right.
accept things without thinking about them. You have to accept whatever's given to you,
Blind
whatever's taught
faith.
to you from the pulpit. You just have to accept it. You don't get to question. How dare you question? You can't question. None of that is true. I'm not really even really sure where that came from, but none of that is true. And when you wake up to that moment and you're like, oh, I can't I can have I well actually not that I can have, but I have an intellectual basis to my faith. There exists an intellectual basis to the faith of Christianity, and then you're suddenly given permission to explore that intellectual basis. All of a sudden you realize, because I don't know about you, did you said you didn't come to faith because of apologetics, correct?
Right. Right.
Right. Okay. I think most of us don't. I think most of us come to faith out of a conviction of sin,
Hmm.
honestly. And
Absolutely.
then we discover there's truth behind it. And I
Hmm.
don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because to me it seemed to reinforce my convictions.
Hmm.
Because if this is true, if the Bible is telling me the truth, if we really do live in a theistic world and the Bible is God's effort to help me understand that world, then my goodness, I want to learn everything I can about why it's true, because that gives me, then it's no longer just a list of do's and don'ts.
Yes.
All of a sudden it's because this is how God's world is meant to work and function correctly, and I contribute to that when I am listening to him and obeying him and cooperating with his designs and instructions.
Absolutely. It leads to our flourishing. Like, God didn't just make a list of rules of how we should live just like in this arbitrary way. Like he
Right.
truly created us. And if he loves us, which we have so much evidence that he does love us,
Yeah.
not that he just tells us that, but he demonstrated that by sending his son to die for us. Like, we can trust that his rules and his commands are going to lead us to flourish. They're going to keep us safe and healthy, and therefore our best. And like, they come out of a heart of love, not of just this
Yes.
arbitrary, like judgmental kind of heart that
Yes.
God has. No, that's not true at all.
Absolutely. And they will help us live into our purpose, because ultimately our purpose as human beings is to image the character of God. That's
Yeah.
ultimately what I think the imago Dei comes down to. We are meant to be little tiny walking reflections of his goodness and his
Right.
wisdom and his purposes. And so we completely miss that purpose when we tell ourselves that our life is for our pleasure and our ambitions and for our purposes. We completely miss it. We turn it upside down. It's to live for his, and we'll miss our purpose. We'll completely miss our purpose for existence if we don't move toward that objective goal, and we can't get there on our own. We have to be instructed. So
Absolutely.
it's just such a I think it's just such a wonderful tool. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I think it's really the missing piece in discipleship
Mm,
in a lot of cases, because it's just a way of understanding what God intends for you and how, just from a different perspective, really.
I
But
love
at any rate, um, we all know that we have to be careful about what we're thinking about, but we should also be careful about how we think. That's important too, don't you think?
yes,
And in what
absolutely.
way can you explain to our audience how, like, logic and reason fits into the being able to take care of how to shape how we think?
Absolutely. I think we should think about what we think about, right? And I think if you've been to any kind of therapy or counseling session, that is encouraged. I know that's probably where a lot of the can't even think of the word, cognitive work that I do comes from, is like, oh, I've been taught to think about what I think about. So let's think about that. But logic, the study of logic, might sound really intimidating. It might sound like this like lofty field, this philosophical field, which of course it is. Logic is very deep and very profound, but we all are logical people. We probably wouldn't be alive if God didn't make us with a basic understanding of logic, right? That's how he helps keep us going. He keeps the human race going, is through our ability to reason and have and use logic, employ logic. And so when we were developing our short courses for women in apologetics, I was really excited to write the logic lessons, because I think it's so important. And yet it seems to a lot of people like, oh, that's not for me. That's for philosophers in a library somewhere. But I think all Christians should learn and be able to utilize the basic principles of logic, because it is so empowering and it's so helpful to help you discern between good reasoning and bad reasoning. And there's not Christian logic. Like logic is
Right.
logic
Right.
universally. And so we can use logic to help us as Christians defend our faith well and avoid defending our faith poorly. Because I'll tell you what, when you learn logic, you will start realizing that you have been using bad arguments.
Yeah.
And it
Right.
will keep you
Yeah.
from using bad arguments if you think about it. I mean, oh my goodness, that has been such a conviction to me. As
Me
I'll
too.
like be rehearsing something in my head, like, oh, this is how I would respond to that person. And then I'd be like, that actually doesn't pass the test of logic. That's actually just attacking the person instead of the argument, which is the ad hominem fallacy. We want to avoid that. And so understanding logic, knowing the principles of logic will really help you evaluate arguments, because they are
Mhm.
everywhere. And we want to offer, as Christians, as Christian apologists, we want to offer strong, sound arguments for our faith. And we want to persuade other people of God's truth with well-constructed arguments that don't contain errors in reasoning or logical fallacies.
Right.
And I bet if you're listening to this, I bet for both Lori and I, we've heard dozens of arguments this week. And I don't just mean like people shouting at each other, which you probably have heard that too,
Right.
but
Right.
everyone's trying to persuade others of something. Like
Something.
look at your virtual environment, right? Read any comment section, any advertisements you get or conversations you overhear. We are arguing for things. We are trying to persuade someone of something, and it can feel tiring. It can feel overwhelming. But if you understand how to evaluate arguments and employ good reasoning, it will help you go a long way in being an intelligent and discerning Christian, for sure.
Yeah. If you've been impacted by Voices of WIA or any of the resources that we provide, would you consider partnering with us through a monthly gift? Your support helps us continue this very vital work and reach even more women with the tools that they need to stand firm in their faith. I personally support WIA because there aren't enough women's ministries that keep the focus on truth, and I'd love for you to join me by visiting womeninapologetics.com/donate. I'm glad you used the word discerning, because that's something scripturally we are commanded to do, and I think that logic is one of the things that helps you just become a more clear thinker. Just like it helps you recognize bad arguments, it also helps you take a topic and kind of distill it down into its individual parts. Well, and then weight them. This is the heavier part. This is the more important part. I don't really have to
Mhm.
deal with that. I can kind of concentrate on this. It helps you really kind of, in some cases, make those really clear distinctions that are not on the surface easy to make. And yet when you kind of get the hang of it, it's like this is really helpful to discern what is most important, what is least important, what's really worth spending my time and thought on. And I have enjoyed it. I don't suppose you ever get finished studying logic and learning how to be a good thinker. But
That's
I have enjoyed really just kind of questioning and challenging myself and testing myself to see, how can I take this? For instance, if you, I'm sure you've had those conversations too that didn't go well. How can I take this and learn from it and figure out how to reason more deeply
yes.
and respond more powerfully so that the next time we'll have a better outcome or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think doing like that postmortem analysis of
Yes,
the witnessing conversation is your best learning tool. Oh my
I
goodness,
agree.
you're gonna make mistakes. You're going to chase like these crazy rabbit trails that you should have just stuck to the main thing, and
Right,
but you
right.
can't learn unless you make those mistakes a lot of the time. And so don't beat yourself up about it. Like God can use anything that
Yeah.
you do in obedience to Him, and you can plant a seed in someone's mind, and God can use those and water those seeds. But yeah, thinking about, okay, where did things go off the rails? How could I have responded differently? Could
Mm,
I ask this question? Oh, I missed what he said, and I should have addressed it this way. That will help you grow so much in your witnessing and evangelism encounters if you just do that postmortem and analyze, okay, what can I do
I
better?
agree.
It's the best teacher.
I was scared to death when I first got started that, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna say something that's just dumb or whatever,
Mm,
or that, that won't work, and I'll just fail." And then started realizing, "Oh my gosh, that's actually so helpful when that happens because you can stop and say, what could I have said?
yes.
Based on how the person responded to me, what were they actually asking me? Maybe I answered a different question than what they intended or they actually asked." That really does help so much. So, yes, we shouldn't be afraid of those conversations because they really do push us forward,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Helps us
So,
learn.
okay, so what is it do you think that's going on in a culture, as if there's just one thing, that should compel us to evaluate how well we're thinking and what we can do to think more critically?
Well, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that we live in a very confused and chaotic culture where the individual is glorified. We are self obsessed, we are self absorbed people, and culture perpetuates this through a ton of different things. And this has led us to be. We live in this culture of your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth, right? This moral relativism that what's true for me might not be true for you. You do you, I'll do me. The reality is no one actually lives that way. Like you might find someone who says, oh, morals are relative, truth is relative. But if I go steal your grandma's wallet and open a bank account in her name and take all her money, you're going to think that's wrong. Like I'll bet almost anyone with their mental faculties in place will say that that's wrong. Not that they just don't like that or, oh, I don't prefer that you steal from an elderly woman. No, they're saying that is actually wrong. So you do have that disconnect between, yes, I'm gonna say that some things are relativistic, but the way I actually think and actually live, no, we can all agree that some things really are right and really are wrong. And so there's just such a lack of emphasis overall on critical thinking and logic kind of everywhere. I think things like speech and debate club, I never got to participate in that, but I think those things are really good and healthy for helping someone learn how to think critically, and point and counterpoint type of situations are good for you in terms of how to argue well, avoid bad arguments and things like that. And so it's okay if you feel behind. It's okay if you feel overwhelmed by the confusion and the chaos and culture. Like that is normal. That is how we are all feeling. And that's really why we came out with these WIA short courses. Mine is on logic, but there's also one on truth and worldview coming out soon. And so we wanted to create these courses to be short and simple and put these things in everyday language so that you can employ these facts and these methods to help you in your faith today. You don't have to have a PhD in philosophy to understand this. This is for an everyday person who wants to reason better, wants to use logic better, or understand it at all. And I hope it's helpful to you. So you should definitely check out our logic short course because it's made for you. It's made for the everyday Christian who wants to learn how to think critically and use logic. And I think it's really valuable and will be really, really helpful. And again, you're a logical person. We are logical
Mhm.
people. These things are intuitive to you. Like when I explain that, I say something like the law of the excluded middle. You're like, what on earth did you just say? But the
Yes,
fact
right,
is, if I'm holding a phone, either there's a phone in my hand or there's not. There's like
right.
no third option. That's all it means. So these things sound really lofty and complicated. And trust me, there are logicians that I could never understand because of how brilliant they are. But the basic concepts are very clear because that's how God made us. He made us to use logic and good reasoning.
Yeah, he did for sure. I I remember studying the law of the excluded middle, and I was like, "How have I never heard of this before? It seems so normal. How have I
Right.
never heard that title before?"
Like something
But
is or it's not. And that's just how it goes,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah. Do you
Yeah.
happen to have favorite examples of things that we say or do or that bounce around in social media, especially that are examples of not thinking well, so that we as Christians can spot it and correct it?
Absolutely. I tell people if you want to test your skills in logic, just go to any comment section, like any
Yeah.
comment section on social media, on YouTube, because you will
Yep.
find just a treasure trove of bad thinking, logical
Amen to that.
oh my gosh, it is everywhere. And but it makes it really easy to find examples when you need
It
stuff.
does.
But something that's so culturally accepted and has become like cultural truths to us are what are called self-defeating statements. Self-defeating
Mm,
statements. They're not arguments because an argument has like premises, has like thoughts that lead to a conclusion. A
yes.
self-defeating statement is just this conclusion that's thrown out there, but the catch is it does not satisfy its own requirements. So a self-defeating statement can't even stand up to its own
Right.
judgment, to its own requirement. And so these are going to sound so familiar to you. It might sound complicated now, but listen, you've all heard these. There's no such thing as objective truth. Science is the only reliable source of truth. You shouldn't judge other people.
Love
These
that's
are
my
all
favorite.
self-defeating statements. So take, there's no such thing as objective truth. Well, you clearly believe that because you believe that your own statement, there's no such thing as real truth, is true. So
Right.
you just defeated what you said by voicing it, right? It's a
Yeah.
self-defeating assertion or statement.
And we hear them so often, we don't even think of them in that terms. We don't even stop to think that this can't be true because then she couldn't say it.
Exactly.
If she actually believed that, she wouldn't be able to say what she just said, and we don't ever think about that
Exactly.
because it's so
Yeah.
common.
They're so common, they're so accepted, they're parroted over and over,
Yes.
and they're
Yes.
rarely challenged. And so people get away with saying these, and people absorb these and believe that they're true. So let's take, you shouldn't judge other people. You have no right to judge other people.
Right.
That statement is a judgment. Like you're pronouncing your value
Ding, ding, ding. Right.
on
Right.
someone else. So hey, you're judging me by saying that. And don't let this is just an aside. Don't let anyone try to throw this one on you. Like Jesus said not to judge. The verses in scripture where Jesus is talking about judgment is telling you how to judge righteously. Like
Mhm.
Jesus made judgments all the time. We're to stay alive, you got to make judgments all the time. We're supposed to judge between good and bad reasoning, good and bad ideas about God. Those verses in Matthew and John are about judging righteously. So don't let someone try to fool you with
Right.
that. Just a little
That's
bonus.
a great point, though. It's the verse, it's the verse that everybody brings up. It's
Hmm.
like the Bible is blank until Matthew 7 verse 1, and then that's the verse where everybody starts.
Yep. Jesus is just saying, do not judge in a hypocritical way, is
Right.
what he's saying. Okay, what was the other one? Oh, science is the only form of truth, or science is the only reliable source of truth. Now, someone like our friend, Dr. Melissa King Travis, she's like an expert in this kind of like refuting this kind of idea. But simply the statement, science is the only real reliable form of truth, is not a scientific statement. You cannot test that statement in a lab. You cannot
Nope.
go into a chemistry lab or biology lab and test for truth for that statement by the scientific method. So that
Right.
statement does not hold up to its own requirement. It's a philosophical statement about science, not a scientific statement. And so we could go on and on about all the
Right.
self-defeating statements that you
No,
see.
but those are great examples
Yep,
because you're right. We hear them all the time.
all the time. So just
All the
think, was that an argument? Meaning, were there premises, like a set of statements that led to a conclusion, and did that support the conclusion? Or does the statement like chop off the branch that it's standing on, sitting on,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just do a quick little analysis, you'll see them all over the place. And those are not using good logic. It fails the test of logic there.
Right, and it just goes to show you that we're all guilty, even Christians. We are guilty
Mhm.
sometimes of hearing something so often that we just believe it. We can become conditioned to believe it. Because, like you said earlier, some of these statements don't go. Nobody ever challenges them, and so we
Mhm.
hear it over and over and over again, and so we are conditioned to believe it's true, even when it isn't. And so, although they are self-refuting statements, sometimes you have to have it pointed out to you before you see it and recognize it, and then you can begin to recognize it more often. And I'm going to guess that's something that the course that you teach points out.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We have a whole section on self-defeating statements. Yes. And we should avoid them as Christians as well, of course. Again,
Yes.
there's no Christian logic. There's just logic.
Right.
It should apply to every worldview system.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm really excited, and I hope everybody that's watching and listening takes the class, because it's such a valuable skill to have. Like I said, you can never start studying it, but you should definitely start studying it
Yeah.
because it's so helpful. Anything else that you would like to add to our discussion before we sign off?
I hope this was helpful. And like Lori said, I certainly hope you guys check out the logic course. One of my favorite parts of the course, well, I'll say two things. The first part was I got to use the world's cutest dog that was on set that day that we were
Aw.
filming, and I get to hold him up as an example of a type of logical argument. He's not my dog. He was the video producer's dog, and I was like, this dog is so cute. I'm a huge dog person. I'm like, can I please? Because in my script, I had an example about a dog, and I said, can I please
Aw,
hold up this dog? And they let me.
sweet.
So watch it for the dogs. Lesson one. It's
Love it when stuff like that happens.
so cute. But
Always need good visual aids. Go ahead.
we love a visual aid. We love them.
Yeah.
He in my example, what I was gonna say was like a golden retriever, blah blah blah. But Atlas, the dog I got to use, was a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, and I had to say that over and over. Like, why couldn't he have been a Yorkie just for my pronunciation?
Right.
But he's really cute. So that was my first favorite part of filming the logic courses. Second is, and the third lesson is about logical fallacies. And I think those are so much fun because you start seeing them everywhere. And as
Mhm.
Christians, we want to avoid logical fallacies, especially the informal ones where there's not like this formal error in logic. It's just bad reasoning. So like
Mhm.
when, and you're going to encounter this as a Christian, if you start sharing your faith, people, when they kind of like you were saying, Lori, like when people run out of ideas or they run out of arguments um,
Yes.
to respond, they're going to start attacking you,
Yes.
the argument.
Yes.
They attack
Yes.
the character, not the argument. And that's called the ad hominem
Yes.
fallacy, which means like against the man. And so you will just start watching for that in the comment section, political discourse, wherever you are. If someone is attacking the character of the person and not the argument that they've made, that is a logical fallacy because it might be true. Like maybe you're like, well,
Yeah.
oh, Jade, she's blah, 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 call me all these names. Maybe some of them are true. But does that actually have anything to do with my argument that Jesus is the Son of God, the Bible is God's word? No, I could be like a convicted tax fraud felon. And if I tell you that Jesus is the Son of God, my character does not change that. I have a clean record, squeaky clean, I promise. But the point remains, attacking someone's character or the source
Mhm.
that
Right.
gives information is not the same as attacking the argument. So things like ad hominem fallacies, genetic fallacy, fallacies that just avoid the question altogether or try to, instead of answering or responding to your argument, they use like red herring. Like the red herring
Mhm.
fallacy means I'm going to pile on information that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it's going to distract you from the original point. I'm going to kind of get away with avoiding this by distracting you or bringing up irrelevant information that doesn't have anything to do. You could maybe you're explaining why you think the Bible is God's word, and if someone starts rattling off like, well, Christians have been the reason for so much violence throughout history, da da da. We're not talking about that. Like that has nothing to do with whether how Christians
Yeah.
act has nothing to do with whether the Bible is God's word or not. I mean, Christians should act Christianly. Don't get me wrong, but people are so quick to distract you, especially if they don't have a really good counter argument. They're going to use
Mhm.
insults. They're going to use distraction, bringing up irrelevant information. Stick with the main arguments. Don't let them get away
Yeah.
with it. Stick with the main thing. Are they
Yeah.
actually responding to what I said, or are they trying to distract me or insult me or avoid the question or the argument altogether? So that's session 3 in our logic course, logical fallacies. It's super helpful. You will start to see them everywhere. You should feel a little righteous anger, like, wait, why are people getting away with this? This is really bad
Yeah.
thinking. And I'm telling you, it'll help you reason well in all areas of your life, not just your faith. Like you'll start to apply this to how you
True.
parent, your relationships, like how you evaluate any kind of claim that someone makes. Like you just start thinking, okay, how do I know that this is true? Is this a logical argument? It just makes you a more informed, discerning person all around, which is a helpful
Yeah.
thing. So
Oh, I love that. It is a helpful thing, definitely. And thank you for being a part of it and
absolutely.
bringing it through WIA to our audience because I know I grew a lot when I started learning, at least kind of started picking this up and paying attention to it. And it's going to be a blessing to everybody. Thank you,
No
Jade, for joining
problem.
us today. This has been a fun conversation. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are so welcome. And I hope to be back soon.
Thanks, Jade. I'm sure you will be. I'm sure you will have you back soon. All
Awesome.
right. Thank you. Don't you just love her? I'm so excited about that class. That's going to be great. By the way, Women in Apologetics has so many resources, articles, videos, social media, quick guides, courses like the one Jade teaches, merchandise, you name it. So to see what we have available and to donate to the work we do or just become a member of our email community, please visit our website at womeninapologetics.com. If you have been impacted by Voices of WIA, or any of the resources that we provide, would you consider partnering with us through a monthly gift? Your support helps us continue this vital work that we do and reach even more women with the tools that they need to stand firm in their faith. You can make a difference today by visiting womeninapologetics.com/donate. So, on behalf of the whole WIA team, thank you so much for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.